Welcome to the Rex Andrews Show. If you are a first-time listener, glad to have you. Glad you found us. We're excited to have you on board. Please don't forget to subscribe, and then also don't forget to comment and make suggestions. We love the interaction. All right, and if you are a return user, if I could talk this morning, thank you very much. We learned in the last week that we've actually cracked the top 10 fastest growing podcasts out there. And that's all because of you, the listeners. And that's a fun accomplishment for us and our wonderful guests because there are over 1 million podcasts in the iTunes marketplace. All right, a couple of house cleaning items, just like normal. We'll get this out of the way. Please don't forget to subscribe wherever you are listening. We are distributed on 23 different podcast distribution points. You can always find us on social media, the major social media places. And then, of course, always at the website at rexandrewsshow.com. Go there, check out the bios of our guests and all the interesting things that we're doing. All right. Today, we got a great guest with us. You know, a lot of people out there have dreamed of starting an online business. You know, they throw up a website or they've dreamed about it and they're going to have products and it's just going to go viral. Well, I've got a guy who's lived through all that. I've known him for many years. He's got an amazing story, and I'd like to introduce to you an associate and business guy I've known for a long time, Byron Walker. Byron, welcome to the show this morning.
Thanks, Rex. Great to be here.
Well, you know, on my show, we're always talking about people stories, and I think you've got an interesting one. As I was mentioning in the intro today, a lot of people dream about setting up an online business, but before we get to that, and in fact, I'm excited to tell people about, just so you can find his site and follow along, Byron has created this site called Survival Frog. Okay, so if you're listening and you got a chance to go online, go to survivalfrog.com so you can kind of see what we're talking about in this journey. So Byron, what we like to do on the show is get the story behind, you know, the person, the business. And so I guess they call it the backstory these days. So we're all a combination of the things that we've done in our life. So I'd like to, if you could, for a few minutes, let's talk about the journey. You know, where'd you grow up? What were your family dynamics? What was what did your parents do for a living? Because a lot of those things help formulate who we are as we grow and turn into adults and do exciting things. So let's start from the beginning, Byron. Now, we don't have to completely start in diaper stages, but tell us the backstory on Byron.
Yeah, you bet. Well, it's just been a crazy journey and it's certainly a lot of ups and downs along the way. But, you know, when I graduated college, let's just start there, I guess, a little bit after diapers. My first job, I graduated in 92, which was a recession. And so my first job, I went out and tried to find jobs and there was just nothing there. So I went and worked for a direct door-to-door sales company selling $6,000 water softeners.
Oh, wow.
And it was really hard and I wasn't super excited about it, but what a great opportunity because it just opened the doors for me on, sales and marketing and all of that. So it was door-to-door sales. And I was just out there busting my butt, making it work so I could, earn a living. And I've started doing okay with it. And eventually they asked me to open a satellite office. So I went and did that and then another office. And then the manufacturer of the water treatment company hired me, to work for a corporate. And so my job title was international sales manager. And so, it was like 3 years of door-to-door sales. And again, that's tough stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Boy, did I learn a lot.
Yeah. If people have not done door-to-door sales, talk about getting your nose bloodied. I mean, what's Mike Tyson's quote? Everybody's got a plan until you've been punched in the mouth. Well, door-to-door sales is getting punched in the mouth every day.
Yeah. That adversity really helped me in the big picture, it toughened me up. And, so anyways, I kept working for that same company and, right out of college, I was doing pretty well, $50,000, $60,000 a year back then. And so it was pretty good. And then the corporate hired me and I was their international sales manager. So get this, this is the best job in the world. And the reason why I'm telling you this, because I eventually quit this best job to become a broke entrepreneur. Okay. But I was making, 6 figures, traveling around the world, went to 45 different countries, first class everywhere. I was in my mid 20s. I was single. It was literally the best job in the world.
Wow.
And so I did that for 6 solid years, and I loved it. Along the way, one of my bosses gave me a book, though, and it was the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book.
Yep. Robert Kiyosaki.
Not that I didn't have that bug before that, but that really put it in place for me that I need to go do my own thing. I need to get out of the day-to-day job and go start my own business. And so after 3 years, at the local, and then 6 years on the manufacturing side, so 9 years, I finally quit that job. And again, my friends thought I was crazy because I was making great money and traveling the world. But I quit that to become an entrepreneur and started buying and flipping houses. So I got into real estate. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you went directly into internet. So you were a fix and flip guy, huh?
Yeah. And we kept some of the houses as well. In fact, I got up to 27 rental properties at one point. Now I look back at that and I think, how the hell did I do that? But yeah, so had some properties, but fix and flipped. It was full-time real estate and did pretty good. I mean, I didn't make a lot of money, but it was a learning experience on running a business, and made all kinds of mistakes early on. Come 2009, I decided to get out of real estate. I'll let you kind of figure out why that is based on the timing.
Based on the timing, that nice little depression that hit us there, and the subprime market problems. Oh my goodness, that was a horrible time for so many people.
Yeah. So that was the kick to get out and start my online business, and at the time I was actually looking at a lot of different businesses, retail or, brick and mortar businesses, or I looked at a lot of different business models, and the one that really got me excited was online and selling products, on the internet. And so that's where I started, going down the path. And if you had told me, like, fast forward 12 years later, I'd have Survival Frog and, the company that I have, and I probably wouldn't even believe you, because I was literally just trying to make, my mortgage payment month after month. And so it wasn't a big grand goal of making something. It was more like, how am I going to earn money? And so I started off as an affiliate and promoted other people's products, and got pretty good at that, and did some paid marketing, and again, grew that to the point where I eventually started making my own products. And these were info products, by the way. So let me back up there. So this was, I was an affiliate for other companies that were selling do-it-yourself guides on how to build solar panels or wind turbines or whatever else it was, do-it-yourself guides. And then, so once I got good at it, then I started making those guides myself and creating the sales pages. So now I was the publisher, not the affiliate.
Right.
And continued to grow that side. And we had, a dozen different info products that people could buy from us. And at the time it was like, $1 or $2 million business. So it was, going pretty well. And then I tripped into the survival side, which is a whole other story.
Let's back up a minute and unpack a little bit of that. You were doing, obviously, affiliate marketing. And for those people that are not really familiar with affiliate marketing, is you basically drive traffic to other people's products or services, info products, whatever, and you get paid a commission, so that's the affiliate market. Now, I know that you were somewhat focused, right? Or were you a little broad in the type of info products that you were driving traffic for?
Initially, it was very wide and very broad.
Okay.
And it's somewhere along the way, I got some really good advice. And it was someone who said, really just what's working the best? What are the top 2 or 3 things that are working? Because I probably had 15 different products I was doing.
Okay.
What are the top 2 or 3 that are working the best? And I told him, he said, drop everything else. Even though it's revenue, even though it's profitable, drop everything else and just focus on those 2 or 3 products. And I did that. Obviously I believe the guy, and I knew his background. And so I just focused on those 2 or 3 things. And that's when my business really took off.
Okay. And
The
those
power
were,
focus.
yeah, you got in some focus, you dialed it in because there's a gazillion things people can push traffic for. And that just sort of helped you focus in on the survival market, right?
Well, so how that came about was we were selling, do-it-yourself green energy, right? How to build solar panels and things. And we were buying media online. So we went to a conservative news online station, online website, and did a big media buy. At the time, it was huge for me. It was $3,000. So it was a massive media buy for me. And in hindsight, now I look back, I see why it didn't work out because, green energy, conservative news. Anyway, but we did it. And sure enough, our product bombed. And we're like, oh crap, we're going to lose all of our money, this $3,000, because this product's bombing. So we went to ClickBank, which is an online affiliate portal. And we found, I don't know how many, like 5 products that we thought maybe would work, and just threw them up there, rotated them through the $3,000 banner, basically on their website. And the product that stood out and did really well was a 2012 Doomsday Survival product. So it wasn't even our product, right? And it did really well. So we're like, hey, we're onto something. So then we went and made our own 2012 Doomsday, how to survive, the Mayan calendar,
Right.
2012 Doomsday scenario. And it did really well. And then we launched another survival product, and then another, and then another, and then finally launched a product called 37 Things Sold Out After a Crisis. And that product exploded. I mean, it did amazingly well. We did like $20 million over just a couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
On a product that has no cost of goods sold. It's just downloadable. So that's really what got us into that market.
And got into that marketplace. Now, help people understand what was the flow of the traffic? You were purchasing ad space in places. So just real quick, help our audience understand how that worked.
Yeah. So we did many things, but we'd go to a website and say, we want to put a banner on your website. They already did banners,
Sure.
but we want to be that number 3 spot or whatever. And they give us a price, we'd pay that. And then they would put the banner up that we chose, so the creatives. And when someone clicks on that banner, it comes directly to our website, where we make a sale or don't make a sale. Okay?
Right.
But when that sale happens, then now we've got the money, and hopefully the two equal each other, so it breaks even or you make a little money on it. And I say breaks even because that's actually successful. Because when someone buys a product from you, now they're in your ecosystem. Now they're on your email list or on your social media, and they're most likely to buy another product from you in the future. And so that's why break even's okay, because once they're in our email list, we can promote our other products or other people's products as an affiliate and then make more money on the back end.
So there was 2 byproducts of that, essentially. You well, maybe 3. You built brand. Okay, so you got people to follow your brand. 2, you made sales, and then 3, or broke even, and then 3, you created your list. You created a list to start, and the most valuable thing of that would be your list. If looking back, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And a lot of people don't get that, but it really is the most valuable thing you can have is the list of customers, which in most cases is an email list.
Yeah.
And that's what we built our company on.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember back in the day when I crossed your path. I mean, email marketing was everything, absolutely. And I basically shudder and look at so many companies, the biggest ones, the Home Depots, the Krogers, the all kinds of businesses who don't even capture or utilize those customer lists very well. And, somebody that's an entrepreneur like yourself who understands that whole process, I just tell people the most important and most valuable thing that a business can have is their customer list.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting the customer to buy from you the first initial time is the hardest time, the most expensive. And in a lot of cases, you don't even make money on that first sale.
Right.
So, but then they come back and they buy from you. The conversion rate's 2 or 3 times higher. The average order value is higher,
Mm-hmm.
and you have that relationship. and you don't have any of the marketing costs or very little marketing costs to
Right.
get them to buy. So that's where the profit is.
It's kind of like getting them over the hump. Once you've got them over the hump, then
Yeah.
things start to flow. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get back to the flow of your timeline here. You started creating your own products. So basically, you just went out and became a product creator or a product owner, and you ran the sales up to like $20 million, over a few years. I mean, that's amazing success, whether that was 10 plus years ago or even today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then from there, again, ups and downs. We started noticing that the info product sales were going down, and every time we launch a new product, it would go up, but not as high as the last time. So it was this pretty obvious trend down. And what we were watching was the market was shifting from people paying for info products online to just getting it free on YouTube. At the time, YouTube was coming up really fast.
Sure.
And it just became really difficult to sell our products online. And probably my best judgment of that was our competition was also struggling. Because if we're struggling, hey, we're messing this up. How can we get better? But it was the whole market shifting. So that's why we moved to physical products at that point. And so we started off a little credit card sized multi-tool. And then we added a paracord bracelet. And so we just literally started with just a handful of products. And then we opened an e-commerce store and had a bunch of drop ship. We soon found out drop ship is difficult because low margins. So we started bringing more stuff in-house. Just that process took, this fast forward 5 years of, adding more products and growing the business slowly over time. And we had 550 products in our store, and we were doing $9 million in business a year, and had 12,000 square foot office and 27 employees and a fulfillment center and storage. I mean, it was a fast growing. We're growing 20-30% a year. It was great.
So it almost
took a fun journey.
Yeah, you didn't have storefront, but you really became a brick and mortar in essence. Because you were inventorying things and shipping, and you took a complete 100% online business and converted it into sort of a hybrid brick and mortar online. And then doing $9 million a year in sales. That's great progress, but you started to see some trends. And so then tell us what happened in the marketplace. And I know the journey's been interesting.
Yeah. So like I said, we were, it was growing 20-30% a year. Life's great until it's not. So the market in the survival space, it goes up and down for many reasons, right? Disasters and things like that. But a big one is the political situation. So when there's a Republican in the office, the survival market typically goes down. And when there's a Democrat in the office, the survival market typically goes up. It's a weird concept, but it's similar to guns. Guns do the same thing. And so Trump was elected, and towards the end of 2017, the business tanked. We lost, the whole market went down 70%, and we were one of the leaders in the market. So we lost 70% of our revenue over a course of about a year.
Wow.
So it was devastating. So we went from $9 million annual revenue down to about $3 million. It was a very, very painful transition. Had to let a lot of our employees go who had been with us for many, many years. We had to shut down the office. We went completely virtual, hired the fulfillment out of house, which is called a 3PL.
Yeah.
We basically went through every department and completely revamped it and found all these efficiencies. We got our product margins up 50%, our costs way, way lower. It was a complete transformation of the business. And here's the thing, when we were done, when we went from 9 down to 3, we were at $3 million. But when we were done with that turnaround, business turnaround, our profits were the same at 3 million as they were at 9 million as a dollar amount.
Probably
so
have
we tripled the percentage, but the dollar amount was the same, which is just mind blowing for me.
No kidding. I mean, that's rather counterintuitive in most cases. Thinking now, did you narrow down your product offering at that time? I mean, you said you had 550.
Yeah.
What did you do with your product line?
Yeah, that was a big part of our turnaround. So we went from 550 products or SKUs, as we call them, down to 170.
Okay.
Okay. And so the 170 that were left were the highest margin, highest profitable products, the biggest volume of products,
Right.
the least problems, the least refunds, the less hassle. All of it was the easiest of the easy 170 products. And then what we did is all the other products that we just decided we're not going to sell anymore. Well, we still had those products in our warehouse. Okay. And so we basically liquidated those products for cheap, and we lost money doing it, but it was a massive cash influx to the business because I didn't have to restock those items.
Right.
So if I had 100 of this product X, I could sell those even at a discount, and that was all cash to the company, even though on the P&L it shows it's a loss, okay, but it was cash, and that's what helped us going. And it took us over a year once the downturn started to get back to profitability.
Okay.
And we lived off of that inventory. So that was a big part of it. So we simplified the business, and that was a big part of it. And in our first profitable month, by the way, which was in May of 2019, we made $85. The best $85 of my life after losing over $500,000 the previous year. Okay. So it was a very painful transition, but $85, we're like, yeah. And then from there, we started, bringing in normal, bigger profits on a smaller company. And we just rode that all the way through 19 into 2020, small company, not growing, but very profitable. And then 2020, we all know what happens, right? So right. COVID comes, and, having a survival business, obviously, we benefit from that. So the business basically tripled. So we grew super fast, rehired a bunch of people, and ended up, as far as a revenue standpoint, about where we were, 3 years before that when we started 2 years before that when we started that downturn.
So when I listened to the story, it looks like, when you had the associate or friend tell you, drop, when you were in the affiliate days, drop everything but the 2 or 3. Okay. So you focused. All right. Then you go through the ups and downs. I mean, I've seen this many times with business owners. You get all enamored with the growth, and you think that's going to happen forever. So you keep expanding, and then the market changes. Well, the reality is you kind of needed to go back to that same focus of narrowing things down, making it easier, and focusing on just a few things. So looking back, do you feel like you kind of got wrapped up in that success?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's plenty of things I did wrong. So
sure.
It's not that we weren't making mistakes, but I think when you're growing at 20 to 30% a year, you're leaving a wake behind you. You're leaving, inefficiencies. You're leaving a mess behind you. Not a huge mess, but it's hard to be really ultra efficient and focused when you're growing 20 to 30% a year. I guess it's probably possible, but it's harder. And you're really focusing on that growth. And one of the things one of the many mistakes was I was focused more on that top line revenue, not watching the bottom line revenue and growth for the sake of growth. And so, there's a lot of lessons learned. In fact, when I got done, I wrote a book about it because I was like, I have to share this with other people, that may have businesses that are struggling, and how to turn that whole thing around. Because I just learned so much through that process.
No kidding. So what's your book? And I'm assuming, is it out on Amazon then?
It will be in a couple of weeks. It's called The Turnaround Plan, Small Business Turnaround Plan.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite an effort.
It's a big effort. That's my first book and probably my last. It's a great book, but it was a lot of work for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it's something I've always had on the radar. Oh, gosh, I think I want to write a book. But then I've worked with enough authors. You have a passion or a subject like you did, and you get into it. but it's an enormous amount of work. It can be a huge distraction. And then even though you'll get some sales, not every book really monetizes all that well.
Yeah.
And so it's a
Don't
crazy
expect
process.
to make any money from it at all.
No.
For me, it was really just about giving back. When I went through my downturn, there were just some very dark and difficult days. And I'm in a group called Entrepreneurs Organization, or EO for short.
Mm-hmm.
And that group, amongst many other friends, they really helped me. They helped me get through those difficult times, both with strategies and best practices and tips and things like that, but also just that emotional journey, because it's a nightmare to go through, because, a business owner has a lot of their pride and self-worth tied up in their business. So when that comes crashing down, it's a tough road. So I just wanted to be able to give back. And I know there's people that are going to go through the same thing I did. And here's a guide or a book on how to do it. Because there's very few resources for small business owners that are going through downturns. You can do a corporate turnaround and hire a $200,000 turnaround guru. But for small businesses, there really isn't much out there. So that was just my way of giving back. I don't need it. I'm not looking to make any money on it at all. In fact, it's already cost me a lot of money, but I want to help other people. And, what comes around goes around. So I'm just wanting to give back some of that, those ideas that I had.
Okay. Well, let me shift gears and pivot a little bit. Looking back over this journey where you went from, basically you went from a corporate, sales environment, this great job, you step into being an entrepreneur, you work hard, you go through this rocket growth, then you go through a crash, and then you reestablish yourself, you're back profitable again. Looking back, what are a couple things that you would say that are the lessons you learned through this whole process?
Well, I think we already hit on one of them, which was simplifying.
Okay.
When you have to take a step back before you can take two steps forward, and theory, it's really finding what are the priority items, and what is what I call the profit core.
Okay.
In any marketing campaign, I don't care how big or small it is, there's a core, there's a part of it that's very, very optimized and doing well. And then you have a lot of other fluff around it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you need to be, and you're if you're losing money, you can strip away all that fluff and just do the core. It'll be profitable. Well, that's what I found in my business too. There were some things we were doing right, and there was a whole bunch of stuff around it that was not as efficient, or we were losing money on. So I got rid of that to find the core that was doing well. So going from 9 million down to 3. $1 million of that revenue drop was self-inflicted. I literally decided to turn off a campaign, a marketing and sales campaign channel that was making $1 million a year in top line revenue.
Top line.
So that was really tough. But once I did that, my business became much more profitable, or at least, started getting back to that area. So it's focus. Even when someone loses a job, think of it that way. What's the first thing you do? Well, you go through your credit card and start canceling all the stuff, the rebills and the subscriptions, and you start mowing your own lawn or whatever, right? You start simplifying your expenses in your business or your home, and you start simplifying your life. So I think that's a big part of it. When you're growing, it's okay to have all these rebills going. Just like in my business, we had waste and inefficiencies. But when you stop growing, you got to pull back, and you got to find what's the core that's working really well.
Okay. Okay. Simplification, cutting costs, paying attention to the bottom line. Was there anything else that was just this major looking back? Because we all go through reflective knowledge gain. When we live through struggles, we have a chance to learn. So what else? Was there anything else that really hit you?
Yeah. Probably the biggest one is just this concept that the struggle is the way, and struggle and adversity is actually so healthy for you.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of the business, almost going out of business. I mean, we're on the brink of going out and lost a lot of money. It was an awful experience, financially, emotionally, everything. But now that's over, I can look back and I'm so grateful that I went through that. It was the best thing that could have happened to my company. My company is so much more healthy, profitable, streamlined. It's easier to run. It's more fun to run, everything. So it was the best thing that could have happened to my company. And it was also the best thing that could have happened to me personally. And again, there were some really difficult times during that journey. Tears, fears, and beers, right? And yet when I'm going through it, it was just pure hell. But now that's over, I'm so glad it happened because I learned so much about myself, about business. I became more business savvy. I learned my financials much better. So and just even personally, it just to help. So it's really hard to see when you're going through through a downturn or through any difficult point in life. But once you get through it, the other side, you grow and you become a better person, and you can look back. And I bet you 95% of the time, people look back and say, well, yeah, that was difficult, but that was really healthy for me. It was really good for me.
Yeah.
Again, tough to see when you're going through it, but boy, when you get to the other side, there's a gift at the other side, and it's pretty big.
Well, I've been through a similar situation many years ago, and the best thing that can ever happen to somebody is to have some struggle. Losing a business and having to go through bankruptcy and those types of things, probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. You know, I'm a consumer of biographies, and that's why I have the show, is to tell stories, because people always think that successful people never have struggles. Most people don't know. I'll give an example from way back in the day. Milton Hershey, the founder of Hershey's Chocolate. He went through bankruptcy 7 times in the candy business before the 8th time he finally got it right. Now, talk about persistence. That's incredible. But for most people, that magic, overnight success is never the case. And most everybody that has success and has lasting success goes through something similar that you've done. I mean, success is really the outcropping of persistence and failure, because once you go through those failures. So I would agree with you 100%. Okay.
Yeah.
So
every success we see is just chock full of adversity to get there.
Yeah.
A lot of times we only read the article about the success, overnight success.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever a situation that success just happened. I think there was so many ups and downs, and really it's the person that's successful is the one who just never gave up.
That's right. Yeah. You never really fail. It's been said many times. You never really fail until you give up. And so that's when you fail. So from a personal perspective, how did all that struggle impact you? I mean, that's a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, personally, it was just really tough on me, on my family, because obviously, I mean, first world problems, right?
Sure.
But we really had to crank down the budget at home, no vacations. Dad's going to be putting in these 10, 12 hours a day. And, everyone just pitched in. So, but personally, it was just difficult because, again, a lot of, an entrepreneur's pride and, just self-worth is tied up in the business. And when that goes down, a lot of times you blame yourself. You think you're a loser. You can't see the other side until you get there. And for me, EO was a huge thing because it was an outlet for me to go talk with other entrepreneurs, people that were like me, that had businesses that they were running, and be able to, share what was in my head. And they just related back to me like, yeah, I've been through that, or I knew this other person who went through that. And just hearing those, experiences back to me was like, oh, I feel somewhat normal now, so that was really helpful just to talk through it because, most, I don't know, I'm stereotypical, but a lot of guys don't want to talk about their feelings. And if you bottle all that stuff up, it's just going to continue to hurt. So getting it out, however you do that with a friend over beers or, a business mastermind, whatever it is, you got to get it out of your head. And you feel so much better afterwards. And the biggest takeaway every time I did that was like, oh, I'm not the only one who's been through this. And, I will get through this too.
Well, one of the things I've seen in those executive peer groups, because there's a lot of them out there, but it sounds like EO is awesome. one of the things I've always found when I participated in a couple of those is the peers will basically, you will talk about your successes or your things, and they'll say this to you, so what? And they'll make you kind of face the fact of, okay, well, we've had these businesses. Now my business is completely different, but don't be so enamored in what you're doing, because so what? What is the so what? They punch you in the mouth and look at, okay, are you profitable? What are you doing to grow your business? And so as entrepreneurs, we get excited, we're having fun, we've got a passion. You're focusing on that top line growth, but then somebody comes along in these peer groups and they go, well, so what? You're no different than the rest of us, right?
Yeah.
So
and they hold you accountable. For me, that was a big one too. It's like, if I say I'm going to let so-and-so go from the company, because letting people go is always just an emotional roller coaster.
Very hard.
But, after the third time you say something, they start to give you crap, right? It's like, hey, So that accountability is so powerful, because when you're running your own business, you're the boss. You don't have a boss. And so to have a peer, someone who has their own company going, to give you crap about something, that's super healthy, because your employees aren't going to give you crap about anything.
Exactly. And you hit on something that's really important. When you are an entrepreneur, you are the CEO, the founder, whatever title you want to say, but you're the guy, or you're the woman. You're basically, you almost take on this Superman type of complex. I know what I'm doing. I'm leading the bus here. And then when someone can punch you in the nose and say, so what? What are you doing? It's a big challenge. So no, I recommend those to a lot. And it sounds like EO was amazing and still is probably for you. So that's great. Okay. So you're at 3 million. You're making as much money. Has it simplified your life as far as that? Are you still putting in crazy hours?
No. So at that time, hours are down, profits are up, life is calm and good. And then COVID hit, right? So now we are back up, growing, instead of 20 or 30% a year, more like 50 to 100% a year.
Wow.
And so, things are a little crazy right now, but mostly just because of that growth. But we're approaching that growth differently. We're not approaching it with the top line revenue in mind. We're approaching it with the bottom line, profit. And we're just a well-oiled machine. So now as we grow, the growing pains are still there, but the growing pains are far less painful, because we really simplified the business. And things are a little crazy, some long hours, but we're doing it for the right reasons. We're helping a lot of people, prepare and have comfort around COVID, whether it's survival gear or long-term food or whatever it is. Even masks early on, we were giving away N95 masks to hospitals. So, but it's a lot of work, but it sure is a lot of fun, and it feels a lot more stable this time.
Right.
And probably fewer hours now than it was before.
So did you experience this syndrome that a lot of entrepreneurs that are having high growth, like you were, the 20 or 30%, were you ever looking in the horizon that it was going to crash? I mean, did you ever think about what could go wrong?
Yeah, not really. I mean, now I think I do. Now as we're growing,
that's where I was headed.
I'm always like, what am I missing? What's going to smack me? What's going to, hurt the business? But no, 3 years ago, before the downturn happened, no, it was always like, it's always going to go up. Just like real estate's always going to go up. Just like, everything. And so, no, I wasn't looking for that. And so when it smacked us, it was a surprise. Now I think I have, I'm still a little singed on the, on the arm from that last burn. So I'm a little bit more cautious as we move forward, and, always looking for, not being paranoid, but always looking for what are the potential downfalls coming up.
Well, and having backup and contingency plans when those do happen, because you've lived through it, right? You know what it is, and you probably have a little better handle on what's really important, what isn't, like you talked about some of the extra frills and things like that you were spending money on. And now you realize, well, those really didn't matter, did they? So No, it's a great insight. And you know, a lot of people when they start a business, because I've been around tech for so long, they don't think about what is, I think tech is one industry that probably does a little more, you know, kind of when is this going to end? You know, what's the exit strategy? And so many people are so bad at getting all caught up in the hype and the revenue and the growth and the excitement, but they don't think about this probably will end, you know, and that's a difficult thing because again, that's just human nature. And
It is, yeah.
in technology, one of the things that happens is whoever is the leader in one marketplace, when there's a technology shift, it's very rare that companies come out a leader in the next shift because they're so caught up in the revenue and what they're doing that they sort of fall asleep at the wheel. And I think this is probably something, and you could talk about too, when you reinvented yourself, because you really did, you reinvented your business. Just trying to be cognizant of putting yourself out of business a little bit. You know, what, like you said, what are the pitfalls, that kind of stuff? Because so that's probably a little more prevalent to you than just, wow, we're riding high and having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Having a plan B, even strategically looking at like, okay, I'm going to sign a lease. Well, 5 years when business is great doesn't sound like a lot, but can you get that lease shorter? Can you get your exposure lower? And everything I look at now is with those, set of glasses that how can I minimize my risk going, into the future? Because we don't know what the future holds.
No, we don't. We don't. So I have a question for you, just because I've been involved in this market space and stuff. You mentioned this a little earlier about some shift in info products to physical products. Is that still the same? Are you seeing more emphasis on hard products rather than on info products? I mean, what's the marketplace look like?
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing that, but that's in my particular market. And so the reason why I say it that way is financial, for example.
Sure.
That's a strong, growing, very healthy info product sector that is continuing to do really well.
Yeah.
And you can see bigger purchases. Like someone will, it's strange, but someone will actually spend, $1,000 on a course on how to get rich or how to, build wealth.
Yeah.
But they won't spend even, $50 on a how-to guide on how to survive a disaster. So
Sure.
that doesn't quite make sense, but in the big picture, kind of does, because there's this potential gain. I might spend $1,000, but I may make 10.
Yeah.
So I see that side of it very healthy.
Sure.
Nutrition has also somewhat done kind of what survival did, where it used to be more about info products and guides and how to lose weight, how to get in better shape. Now it's a little bit more on the gear side, right? Now
Right.
it's take this supplement, buy this exercise machine. And
Sure.
so we've seen a shift there. We've seen it in survival, but financial, it seems to, and it probably always will be very healthy on the info product or coaching side. It's still
Sure.
thriving on that side.
Well, they always say in marketing, there's only a few things that motivate people to make purchases. That's more money, more sex, or more power. And so more money is always an attractive business. And I would agree with you also on the healthcare products. You know, dieting and health is, multi-billion dollar industry. But I think people don't really want advice because you can find that anywhere now. What they want is solutions to things. So I'd agree. So in your business, what do you see on the horizon? What's next? What are you bullish about?
Well, in the survival space, as I mentioned before, a Democrat in the office is
Mm-hmm.
good for business.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see the next 4 years as being very strong. COVID obviously gave us a big jump start into that. And at this point, I believe we're certainly one of the largest, if not the largest, e-commerce site in the survival space. So just continue to grow that and really continue to grow our brand. Back in the day, I was such a direct response marketer,
Uh-huh.
and it was more about churn and burn and just get the next sale, the next sale. And now it's much more about building a brand and building something that people will come back to.
Right.
Not just because I sent them another email or sent them another marketing ad, but because they want to come back. They remember us. They tell their friends about us. And so as the company matures, gets larger, it's less about the one-off sales and more about repeat customers and building a brand. So that's really for us is a big focus for the next few years.
Next few years there. So what advice would you give? Obviously, we talked about a lot of things that make a lot of sense. Your book about the turnaround, which is amazing, but let's pretend for a moment that I'm a entrepreneur and I'm excited about maybe doing something online. What would you recommend? I mean, what would be some good first steps to help people avoid some of the things you've been through?
Yeah, the biggest thing I would share, experience share is just getting started, not waiting until everything is perfect, not waiting until you have the ultimate plan, not waiting till the product is perfect.
Sure.
Because you really just need to get started, even if it's not perfect and it's a little scrappy and ugly. Getting started then will give you market feedback.
Right.
Because if you try to make this one thing perfect, whether it's physical product or info product or whatever, I think you'll be surprised that you're not the one who can make it perfect. The market needs to give you feedback on what's perfect. And whatever you think is going to be popular is probably not even the most popular thing. So even today, I still prove myself wrong constantly. Yeah. And then we let the market tell us what's popular and what they want. So so that goes back to the same thing, just starting and just get it out there. It can be ugly and imperfect, but it's there. And then you start chipping away at making it better with the market feedback. That's a big one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's always action over perfection. And I think people have to be really strong at being able to pivot. Okay, so fantastic. Well, listen, Byron, it's been a great interview with you. I will have you back. I want to see how things continue to go for you. So
that'd be great.
I appreciate your time and you being so generous. So until next time, one more time, give us your website. It's Survival Frog, right?
Yeah, survivalfrog.com. So frog like the animal.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah, well, Byron, if anyone wants to reach out, I'm available by LinkedIn too. So just mention Rex's podcast and we can
fantastic connect. All right, Byron, thank you for your time today. We will have you back. And until next time, folks, thank you for tuning in. We always have great stories. There's more interests than there are lifetimes. So there's always a great story around the corner. And until next time, tune back in and visit the website, rexandrewshow.com. And I just have 3 things to say like normal. Be safe, be bold, and make it a great day.